All right, guys, we're going to talk about how to create a metal standing seam roof, one that's kind of like this here that you see on the screen. Um, so basically what this is a roof that's made out of two different layers. There's the regular layer, flat layer that you see here, and then you will have a separate layer on top that's made up of these bars, these vertical or horizontal bars, I guess, depending on how you're looking at it. Um, that are made up by mullions, and that's basically like a division or a shape that's created. A lot of times, um, it's basically an effect that we use here that's often used for windows and doors. But the way that we add it here helps complete our metal roof look. So, the way we're going to start this, I'm going to go into File, New. I'm going to create a new project here. Go over the steps on how to create this again. What I like to use is actually default. Go into browse and I choose the residential default. Um, that kind of helps me because there's all the plans that I need in this project. Click OK on that, and here we go. So rather than start with the whole wall system here, I'm just going to go straight to the roof plan and start to build myself a roof line. So I'll go into roof. I will just create one out of these border lines and start to create one. I'm going to do an example that has both kind of a hip and gabled roof, so you can kind of see how it looks and how to make the changes for both types. So create my complete roof plan here. So this is basically what it's going to look like. I'm just using like a generic roof right now, but I'll change that. Click OK on that. See what that looks like. I'm actually going to turn these off just so I have a nice clean look at just my roof. All right, so all I have right now are just a bunch of hip roofs, which is good. But for our plan, like what we're doing now, has a combination of both hip and gabled roof, especially with the something like the modern farmhouse style. So I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'll get in here and edit the footprint. I don't want this one to be defined by the slope. That'll be a gable. This one as well. And just one more just for fun back here. So now check that out. Now I have a few gabled roofs where before this right here was defined by the slope of the roof. Now it's just going to be a straight up gable. You create something like that, your walls should automatically connect up to the roof line. So this is what I'm going to start with. This is my roof shape here. Now I'm going to make a couple changes. I'm actually going to turn this into a metal roof. So I'm going to change the type here to a wood rafter 8-inch asphalt single. And then I'm going to edit this type. I'm going to change the material. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to change the asphalt to aluminum. And okay. And I'm actually going to change the structure. I'm going to go into the structure, hit edit, go into the asphalt, shingle, part of the finish, and get into my material editor. And instead of asphalt, I'm going to choose aluminum and click OK on that. I'll just keep the thickness as a 1/4 inch. That should be fine. And go OK. Nothing really changes. What I'm going to do is get into a shaded view here. Realistic view would show it as kind of aluminum color, a grayish color. Ray trace will make it look even better, but it takes longer to move around and create on. So got my roof there. So like I said before, this roof, the original roof is actually This one here is made up of 2 layers, 2 actual roofs. So I'm going to go into that with my roof plan here. All right, I'm back. I've got head students walking in. So I'm going to go back to my roof plan here, select what I have. I'm actually going to copy this roof. I want it to be the same exact thing instead of going around and tracing through everything again. I'm going to go to copy up here, copy to clipboard. And then once I do that, I'm going to hit the down arrow next to paste and go to aligned to same place. And there's actually going to be 2 roofs here now, both aluminum. But what I'm going to do now is change this top one to a sloped glazing. And so, let's see, here's kind of what that looks like right now. Nothing's really changed a whole lot. So what I'm going to do is actually raise this top layer up 2 feet so we can actually see the changes that we're making here. So on the offset here, I'm going to go to 2 and apply. And you can see now that it's raised that top layer of my roof. It's glazing, which is basically glass, changes that and raises it up 2 feet. So we don't really want glass. This is great if you're doing something like a large skylight or ceiling area that has large glass spaces. But what we're going to do is take advantage of using this layer to create these mullions, which if you look in the windows in this classroom or your home, basically what a mullion is a separation, a division of the panes of glass. And so we're going to use that to create this effect for our metal roof. So I'm going to go into this and edit this type, and make sure I got it selected first. There we go. Edit type. I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to title this one Standing Seam, because that's the effect we're going to create here. So I'm going to click OK. And construction. Right now it says curtain panel. I'm going to leave this empty. So basically getting rid of the glass. Grid layout. Basically what this is which way do you want these mullions to be aligned? We're just going to be creating the vertical ones. So grid 1 is typically for verticals. Grid 2 would control your horizontals. Standing seam roof is only going to have vertical. So I'm going to go to the layout here for grid 1. And I want to control the distance. So I'm going to have a fixed distance for these mullions. Right now, by default, it's set at a spacing of 5 feet. I'm going to change that to 2 feet. And there's not going to be a grid 2, but we are going to have an effect on the interior type of these mullions. And we want it to be a rectangular type. So click OK on that. It's going to make its changes. And so there are our mullions, our shapes that we've added in. Remember, it's still 2 feet above the rest of the roof. So that's not a huge deal. We can adjust that. I like to adjust that in an elevation view. And I will take this. And if you look at these are large bars, larger than what you would normally see in on a roof. So the way I kind of get around that is choose, let's see if I can find it, there it is, and drag this down to the roof line. I can arrow it down as well. So it's sitting on the roof right here. Those are large bars. So what I like to do is kind of bury it into my existing bottom layer of my roof a little bit. And that kind of helps give more of the effect of that standing seam without those bars being too obnoxious. So I'm going to go maybe down a little bit more. There we go. I like that. Pretty clean looking. Pretty simple. Now what we're left with is basically our grid here showing up. Some of these lined up actually pretty good. some of them not so much. So the way we get around that is by selecting the roof, and you'll see all these little options pop up, these little boxes here. If you don't see that, select the roof. And then what we can do is start to align these. This wall and this wall is pretty well aligned. I can tweak that a little bit to make it a little bit better. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to shift this. I'm going to go to these dimensions right here. It says 1. I'm not going to mess with the degrees, but I'll mess with the inches a little bit here, and try typing in an adjustment for shifting. You're going to notice that I typed in 2 inches. It doesn't like to shift it that small amount. So what I'll do to get around that is I will shift it. Let's see. I'll shift it quite a bit more to make it match up. So let's see. Kind of just start tweaking this. I'm going to shift it by a foot. You see how those bars kind of slide over. I'm going to keep shifting it. Maybe I'll shift it by another foot. Maybe I'll make it 2 feet instead. There we go. How about I'll go 2 feet, be 2 inches. And that lines up pretty well. Could probably do a little bit better. So maybe I'll go 2 feet, 3 inches. That's somewhere in between there. But you can kind of tweak that in 2 feet, 2.5 inches. There we go. Now I like that seam right there. Makes it nice and clean. Everything matches up good. So the same can be done for the other parts of the roof as well. Let's say I want to line up this one with this panel here. Click on this, go into the measurement here, and let's see what 9 inches does. Not quite there. Let's go for another 3 inches. I'll make it a foot. And that lines up pretty good. So nice clean seams. You're going to notice that it's going to be very difficult to make a lot of these line up. So let's see. So if you keep on going around, selecting your panels, you can start to align these. All of them are not going to line up perfectly, but you can at least get most of your main panels lined up the way you need them. The idea is to go for nice clean lines. That'll give the effect of a finished roof. Definitely make sure that your front gabled sections are lined up. Some of these smaller angled sections you can probably be okay with leaving those out of alignment. But basically that is it. So kind of have an idea of what your roof should look like by the time you get around to the roof plan for modern farmhouses. This should be a good idea for you guys to use. You can go through and also change the color of the aluminum. So if you wanted a different colored roof, you can get into the materials and the appearance of the aluminum and actually change the colors and how it's going to look. So that's basically it. Once you get these done, post your example of your finished roof onto Classroom.